We're good, no worries.
Okay.
Gotcha. Typically, we don't think about our most basic beliefs. We just assume that the things we believe to be true are so. I mean, for example, when was the last time you ever really considered whether or not you exist? Whether the Matrix is real or not? I mean, we all know it isn't, but how and why? Most of us couldn't provide a good answer to that question. And how many of us have actually sat down with all of our political beliefs that are obviously correct and actually, intellectually regarded every single one? For most of us, it's probably been a fat minute. And we all know that, birds are real, right? But when was the last time you got within 10 feet of a bird without it flying right away? Seems a little suspicious, doesn't it, that birds do everything they can to avoid human contact? Well, it doesn't actually, because birds aren't real. You didn't mishear me. The creatures that you know as birds do not exist. And they're actually government drones put out by the United States to spy on innocent American citizens. Now, I don't blame you. If I walked into an ancient Greek speech and debate tournament and I gave a speech on why the earth was round or some crazy theory like that, all the judges would be looking at me with the same faces you guys are looking at me with right now. So it's not your fault that you don't know the truth. I just have to show it to you. So we're going to walk through the history of the bird drone program. How birds used to be real until the government slaughtered all of them. And then we're going to examine the evidence. How we know for a fact that birds aren't real. And then finally, we'll examine the impact. Now that you've joined the ranks of the bird truthers, how should you be living your life? Spoiler alert, differently. But I want to give some credit where credit's due to my friends of the Birds Aren't Real movement, located at birdsaren'treal.com. Head there for some more information on the truth. But don't get me wrong here. Birds used to be real. They were wonderful. But then the 1960s came along. And with them came bell-bottom jeans, the Beatles, and the Great Bird Genocide. The government from 1960 to 2001 embarked on a systemic campaign to slaughter every single bird that lived among the planet to make way for what they were building. But they had a problem. See, you can't exactly put bird program, $80 million, on the defense budget. But then the 1980s came along. And with it, the perfect excuse. The Cold War. You see, the government tells us we needed to ratchet up defense spending by hundreds of billions for a war we literally never fought. And how many of us have seen the nuclear weapons that we supposedly built for this war? We haven't seen pictures of them because they weren't built. That money went to build highly sophisticated bird drones. Leaving the government only one more problem. How do they legally surveil innocent American citizens? Well, then came 2001. And with it, the passage of the Patriot Act, so aptly named. The government made it legal for us to surveil innocent Americans without a warrant. And they never specified how this would occur. Leading way for what happened on October 26, 2001, when the basement of the Pentagon opened in the dead of night. And millions upon millions of disgusting, filthy, metallic, tyrannical bird drones flew into the air. The nightmare had begun. You're probably thinking, well, Drew, that seems like a perfectly reliable historical account, but how do I know that birds aren't real? What are the facts? Well, let's walk through them. First is migration. I, like many intellectuals before me, refuse to accept the ridiculous myth of migration. It doesn't make sense. What kind of creature needs to leave their house every 6 months, go find a new house, only to come back to their old house in another 6 months? Besides rich people with vacation homes, nobody does this. Why can't they just stay in South America? Well, what's in South America? The drug cartel. And who runs the drug cartels? The United States government does. It almost makes too much sense. How else could the government smuggle drugs and money across the border without anyone noticing? Without migration patterns for highly sophisticated bird drones, they couldn't. And that's not all. Data from the National Climate Report showed that from 2015 to 2016, the amount of rain in the United States significantly dropped. And data from the Department of Agriculture showed that during that same time period, the amount of rice produced in the United States dropped by 200,000 tons. Meaning the less it rains, the less rice grows, meaning, of course, the more it rains, the more rice is produced. Now, I'm not a scientist, but there's obviously an explanation for this. You see, when the early bird drones were built, they didn't have the best waterproofing technology. And so every time it rained, liquid damage became a huge problem for those early prototypes. And the fleet still has some of those in there. And so, what do you do with technology that is liquid damage? You put it in rice. Every time it rains, the government has to take about 30% of its bird drone fleet and dump them into a giant pool of rice buried under the Pentagon. The entire rice industry is basically subsidized by the United States government. That's not all. You probably have some questions, and I want to answer them for you. You know, a common question I get is, but Drew, how do these drones charge themselves? You know, I charge my drone for like 5 hours, and it only runs for 5 minutes. Well, let me ask you 2 questions. What's all across the United States, surging with power, and where do birds spend just a weird amount of their time? The answer to both questions is telephone poles. The government tells us we need them to wirelessly communicate with each other when, come on, that makes no sense. And why on earth would birds hang out there unless they had a purpose for doing so? They're getting power. But, you know, the most common question I get by far is, but Drew, what about chicken? I love and I eat chicken. Well, come on, guys. Don't be silly. Chickens aren't birds. Chickens jump high, sure, but they can't even fly. The government points to them and says, oh, but it has feathers and beaks, so it's a bird. And yeah, because a dog has fur and claws, it's a bear. No, that's not how science works. But this is what happens when we let the government write our science textbooks. They stuff this propaganda into the faces of our children. And that's not the only way they've been doing it. I mean, when was the last time you watched a children's cartoon where the main bird was the main bad guy? No, keep thinking. Daffy Duck's a good guy. Elmer Fudd's a villain. We cheer Roadrunner, but we boo old Wile E. Coyote. Tweety Bird's a perfect saint, and Sylvester the cat is despicable. The government tells us that birds are the good guys while those who oppose them are evil, in an effort to normalize bird culture in the minds of our children. And that's not the only way they've been using propaganda. You've probably wondered why it's illegal to shoot down a bald eagle. That's because BALD stands for Biochemical Assault Laser Drone. They're the tanks of the air. Of course the government doesn't want you to shoot down their best weapon. And they hide this by putting it on the Great Seal of the United States, when a seal is literally a different animal than a bird. It's not even good propaganda. But you now know the truth, and you can no longer live the carefree life you only lived a few minutes ago. 3 things you need to do. The first is to protect yourself. At all times, to shield yourself from radiation and surveillance, the majority of your body needs to be covered with tin foil. It may not look like it, but I'm completely covered in tin foil under the suit, and the rules make me leave my hat outside. But the second thing you need to do is learn to fight. And after this speech, I really do want you to try this. Run up to a swarm of drones and yell, "Freedom!" at the top of your lungs. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to flip-flap right away like the filthy, freedom-hating lackeys they are. And the sound of the word. Truth, justice, and liberty will all suffice as well. The final thing I want you to do is to spread the truth. Tell your spouse, your friends, kids, loved ones, people you sit next to on buses, subways, planes. They'll love it. I mean, why do you think my parents homeschooled me? Because brainwashing isn't a joke. I just want us all to take a step back and appreciate what's just happened. We spent hopefully around the last 9 minutes or so examining one of our foundational beliefs, something we've never thought about before, and trying to see if we were wrong. This is something we do all the time, right? We're always trying to see why we're incorrect. Yeah, the truth is we never do this. Philosopher and theologian Francis Bacon once said that the human condition, once it has adopted an opinion, draws in everything to support it. Though there may be facts and evidence to the other side, that it ignores and despises. The truth is, we just believe what we believe and never consider the opposite of that. So regardless of whether or not you've actually joined the ranks of the bird truthers, hopefully you now have a mindset to examine some of your lesser beliefs in your life. Like, why do we exist? What is the purpose of humanity? How does Taco Bueno still make a profit? And are birds real? Well, now you have the mindset to answer all those questions and the answer to one of them. Thanks.